Hello Magic fans, it's Chip Beef here, filling in for Albermarkov who injured himself while manscaping. I guess things didn't go smoothly, am I right? I'm excited to do this, especially since Alba told me he had to let me because my father owns a studio. That takes a lot of pressure off. Anyway, I've been told that if I do not go off script, everything will be alright. I don't even have to know what I'm talking about. All I have to remember is to read off the telemarketer. So here we go. Okay, this script is gibberish. So basically, 2 books about a war of spark came out and people didn't like it, and a character named Chandra and Alaya got retconned into being a heterosexual. What? And then something about an entire online store is being blocked by a paywall on a plane called Tharos that didn't even get a story at all. So a couple of things. Sexuality is not a choice, so why would anyone believe Chandra could be conned into shagging blokes? Also, no offense, but there are no good stories about planes anyway. Oh wait, there was that good story about a plane, the one where, the gremlin was on the side of the plane with, from the Twilight Zone? F me dead, this is a boring script. Okay, I'll sum it up. The fans got rowdy, and then Chandra was back to the Sheilas, and the story became free again, and then there were much better Spark Wars. Which brings us to today's guest, writer Marcus Terell Smith. Marcus wrote The Blessings of the Blood, one of the newest magic stories. He's also toured as a performer in the Book of Mormon, starred in shows like Modern Family and CSI. Wow! Why did we waste all this time when we had someone interesting to listen to? Let's get to the interview.
So, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Oh, thank you for for being awesome and loving my work, I guess, as you said. So.
I do love it. I do not like it. I love it. And I will confess that, I don't know how informed you are with magic as a whole, or even magic as a story. Were you someone that followed that before you wrote for them?
It's kind of very interesting how I got into this. So when I was a kid, I never knew how to play the game or anything like that. I just liked how the way the cards looked.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember me and my brother, I have a twin, we would walk, down the street to this baseball card shop, and he would get basketball cards. And I said, oh, well, those look cool, the magic ones. So I got the magic ones. And then I would open them up and I'm like, oh, these are really good drawings, stuff like that. Then I heard that they were worth money. I was like, oh. And so then I grabbed a little magazine and I was like, oh, this one's worth $3 and this one's worth $18. And so then I just started collecting a bunch of them. And so that I never learned how to play, but I would just like take them and put them in little card slots. And I was like, I'll see what happens in the future. And that was so long ago, and I don't know where they're at.
Oh no! Oh gosh!
Maybe I have $1 million sitting around.
Yeah.
I could go to my parents' house and figure it out. But
I was waiting to hear you say, and then I retired. Because
no, if only there's somewhere, and I just pray that my parents didn't throw them away or something. Or,
that's
I don't know, but that's how I was exposed to it first, and then there was a kid I was in Phoenix Boys Choir, and so all the kids had to get little games they played when we went on tour places. And so one kid was teaching me how to play, and then I was like, you know what? And so I wasn't as when it comes to learning rules and doing all those things at that age, I was just like, my attention span's gone. I'm gonna go do something else. So either way, had the cards. And so then, years later, to in the past year and a half, I was working at Riot Games. I was writing some lore for their League of Legends side of things. And then I met Michael E. Chow. He works over at Magic, and he's like, oh, you should see if you can write some stuff for us. And I was like, okay. And so I ended up writing 2 stories. So this will be my second story with you guys. And so now I'm full circle. I'm coming back into the fold of Magic.
Now, just to put things in perspective, there has been over the past few years a lot of let's say people have been less than satisfied with the road that the wizard story was taking. It was either kind of put, I mean, there was a book that was not well received, and then there was a skipping of an entire plane's writing whatsoever. So everybody had been very, very kind of nervous about what was happening with the story. But I can safely say that with Innistrad, and specifically your entry, those worries are now over. I mean, it's not BS. I mean, like, I was putting away my groceries and I just was checking my iPhone and I thought, oh, I wonder if they have a new side story up, or, and I saw it and I just stood there in my kitchen, like, didn't even put my groceries away, could not put it down. I mean, you hit so many beats that were needed. I mean, it was riveting. So
thank you.
My question to you is, now, when you get the job, so you audition a piece, or how does that work?
So in the beginning, I sent over a sample of my work. I write a lot of, I like writing a lot of fiction, especially a lot of fancy stuff like books and things like that. So I had a chapter from a book that I had written that's coming out sometime soon, we're gonna believe. But I wrote a chapter that, so I submitted that to them. Also, at League of Legends, I had done some work with their like voiceover stuff, so writing little scripts and things. And again, Ichao was there, so he kind of could vouch for my work. But then I just sent over some short stories that I had written, sent over the chapter of that book, and then I didn't hear anything for a while. And I was like, oh, well, it's just how the cookie crumbles, So, but then all of a sudden I got an email, and people were excited about the type of stuff that I wrote, and they thought it would be really great for these different projects that they had. Like the first story I wrote was for can't think of it. Why can't I think of it? Silver Quill. I wrote Killian's story, and it was just, and I really enjoy having the freedom to build things, and based on, of course, the rules that they've set in place. But I just got in that way, and so I submitted something, and I write extremely long stuff, so you're supposed to be limited to about 5,000 words or something, but I usually submit stuff it's like 12,000 words, and I'm like, so if I know I'm on the right track, then I can go, okay, then I can pare it down. But getting into the magic style of writing and the stories that they want to tell, it was just, it was a body of trial and error, I'd say. So they contacted me to do it. I sent them, what I thought would be a great story for Silver Quill. And then they wrote back and gave me some notes and back and forth. And then they said, we want you to do something else. And then Audric came in, and I was like, love this Blade type stuff. So that's how I got there.
Were you aware of the importance of both Audric and Thalia in the magic lore before you wrote the story?
I was not, to be honest. Again, I'm very, like, I'm just now being introduced to all of these things. And so they called me, the team called me, and we had a little meeting, and they were just talking about the characters. Like, it was kind of very brief overview stuff. They said what they wanted the story to be like. They wanted it to be action adventure, like Blade. They wanted, to be kind of open-ended, to be able to do something else with it, maybe, and that was basically it. But then they give you this wonderful, this plethora of information about the world and different characters in the world and the past. And then I started reading the stories that came before this one, and I was like, oh, this is huge right here. And so I really wanted to do it justice with what I wrote, and so I kept going back to those stories and trying to find different ones, and and just, it was almost overwhelming how much information there was. And I was like, wow. But hey, something awesome came out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and preface that spoiler alerts are coming. So, if you haven't read it yet, well, subscribe and like, and then come back and then read it and then come back. But if you have like read it and you were able to handle the spoilers, they're coming up now. So, obviously the character Audric turning into a vampire was I think for all of us as players, we assumed we were going to know where the story was going, and then you turned it around on us. But not only that, you introduced a villain into the the fold where their story is already like rife with villains, and your villain is just awful. I mean, but you know, in the best way possible. But she's she's truly heinous, and so I wonder how much of that character do you get to make dialogue up, or is there certain things where they have beats where you follow, or where do you get to put your voice in as a writer?
Well, what they told me in the beginning was that they basically just gave me very bare bones stuff. They just said, okay, we're going to introduce the character Henrika. She's going to come in here, and you know, she's part of the Donathi. She's part of them, and they're, you know, and they. Am I going to spoil things? You said spoiler.
You can spoil. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, that's
okay.
You are the spoiler as far as this.
Gotcha. Okay, and then they survive off demon blood. You know, well, they're powered by demon blood, and so I was I said, okay, now go and run with it. You know, and I was like, great. And so then from there, they gave me pretty much all the freedom in the world to do stuff with. You know, and so when it came to like her powers to transform into mist and things, I was just like, what would be the coolest thing that I could think of where if she was attacked, she would be able to survive? So it's kind of like what I would do as an audience member, like, you stab her, yes, but no, she's still, you know, she can reassemble herself somehow, some way. And so they gave me a lot of freedom just to be able to explore, you know, her powers, to explore how diabolical she could be. And I always love writing villains that they have their own motives. It seems like they're working for somebody, but it's like, no, I just enjoy inflicting pain. It's just, you know, it's like, and there's people like that, you know, and
yes, so there are.
And throughout history, there's been a lot of, and you see it, and you love to hate those people. And so I was like, how do you write a character that you love to hate? And she kind of just bloomed. And I myself, I'm an actor, you know, first and foremost, and I study linguistics in my undergrad. So some syntax and semantics are really cool things, and so I love just writing things that sound musical, if that makes sense. So it's
that makes total sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I like doing that. So they gave me the freedom to do that, and then, you know, here we are.
And then I mean, everybody have to read it. I mean, here's the thing: it's a side story, but right now. And this is honestly, I would, if you had asked me a week ago that I was going to be more invested with what was going on with the side story of Crimson Vow than the main set story, I would have been like, no, but that's incorrect. Now I'm like, I want more. I have to have more. And it's just, I know I sound like a fan, you know, boy, but what can I say?
No, this is my first time ever like having somebody want to like talk about more, so I'm extremely flattered. And
well,
wow,
good, because I mean, you should be. It's really fucking good. I just don't know how to put it. I'm just like, I'm so excited for Magic that they've found somebody who can write the way you do, and that you just knocked it out of the park. Now, we'll actually, we might as well segue a little bit, since you did bring it up. But you are an actor, and you've been on quite a few high-end pieces of television, I must say. Like, just name off like a little show called Modern Family. I don't believe anybody's who's heard of that one. I'm not
Nobody's heard of that. Nobody knows what that is. I don't know.
And you know how I can tell something is really big? I don't watch Nickelodeon or anything like that. But I know I've heard of iCarly, and that's when you know something's big, when you're like, I've never seen it, couldn't tell you who was on it, but I've heard of it. So when did you, so you're in LA now, is that where you are currently living?
Yes, I'm in LA right now. Mm-hmm.
So you originally were, you taught acting in Arizona, was it?
Yeah. Okay. You did the research. I'm proud of you. Good job.
Oh, goodness.
I could give you the story. I didn't know if you had something else.
Well, I'm just wondering, when did you officially make the jump to La La Land, and did you, when did that happen?
So I've been writing, well, you mean LA, sorry.
Yes.
Talking in my head. So basically it's been like a very circuitous type thing. I knew I was always supposed to be here, but it's just, I would kind of force myself in a different different paths that that I thought I could conquer first. And so like I went to school in Arizona. I did linguistics and I did BFA musical theater there, so the singing, acting, dancing stuff. And so because sing and dance, I was like, New York, you got to go there. But then I was like, LA, I should be in LA. I love LA, the sunshine, the people, but no, I'll go to New York. And so I go to New York. I stayed there for 4 years, and I go to grad school over there. And I'm not a New York person. I know if I'm working there, it'd be great, but going to school there, living there is just not for me. And so then came back to Arizona. Again, didn't have any money or anything like that. So I was like, can't make the move there. So I'm back with my parents. And so there this is kind of where I started honing more of my writing stuff. But I was like, well, I have nothing else to do. I could just write all day, and work these other little jobs. And so then after that, I got randomly cast in Book of Mormon for a while. Meaning the thing is that they had a national call that just came, and I had given up acting. I was kind of like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just gonna focus on writing. Maybe I'll direct stuff. I was directing like children's theater, and I was enjoying it, and I said, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. LA was still always in my mind. I was like, I can get there. So sometimes I would drive up and try to go do an audition or two and come back. But Book of Mormon, excuse me, they showed up and they said, hey, they're doing national audition. And I said, they're not gonna pick me. I'm not gonna go do this. And then the last day I said, fine. I went up there, audition, and they said, we'll call you in like 2 months. And I said, you'll call me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Back in my life. Yeah. And then they called. I had a couple more auditions, like 5 or 6 more auditions, got picked up for it and went on tour, kind of changed my life. And then I finally had like, the money to be able to get to LA is when, so I toured for 3 years and I was saving. And I said, finally I can do this. And I left tour and I came here and just been here ever since. So
is being in Book of Mormon as fun as it seems?
Oh gosh, it was amazing. That was like the most incredible experience. Love to perform, love to be in front of people, but to be around people that also like to perform and tell stories is just, incredible.
And to be in one of the most successful shows of all time. I think it's grossed over 500 million.
Yeah. And it's going strong. It's back.
It's a brilliant show. I was lucky to see it. Unfortunately, I like we talked before, I didn't get to see you in it, but I did get to see it right before COVID happened, and I'm glad I did, because there was a while there where I was like, Broadway and shows like that, I was worried that they were just gonna go away because of what had happened. So
they're on the rise. Continue. I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh no. So okay. So then you finished Book of Mormon, and I imagine that gives you not just the money, but also a helpful resume padding. So when was it that you landed your first proper like SAG card gig?
It was pretty much right when I came here. Since I was in equity in the theater union, I was able to cross over into SAG. But when I got here, I was like, okay, I have a really awesome agent, great talent group. They're wonderful. And so when I got here, they immediately started sending me out for stuff. And then I got a Grey's Anatomy episode. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's working, And then like randomly Tosh.0 was doing something and I went on there and I was like, okay, great. And then it was like dry for like a year and a half. I was like, I don't know what I did. It's terrible, And of course, in the interim, writing away. And so just kind of waiting for the opportunity to be able to, make your own projects and make your own things that are, and not have to rely necessarily on the powers that be to get you a job or to make sure you eat next month. So yeah, but Grey's Anatomy was first. And then after that drought, then other stuff started coming in. So it was kind of like, oh, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and,
right.
And all that.
Which you got to sing on that one, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's
fun. I mean,
yeah.
Did you go into the studio to record that, or how does that work? Did you go in with the cast to record it, or did you guys do remote stuff? I'm not sure if it was
It was all pretty much on the fly. We all know the song. So you go in there, you audition for the song, and they say, okay, you can sing. And then they picked the 5 of us. What was cool was one of the guys who was in it John Scharzer is, I went to college with him. We were both in musical theater. So we're like, okay, we can sing and do some harmonies and da 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 da. And so you get on set and then they were kind of like, did you work it out? I'm like, oh, we have to work it out. Okay. So then the 5 of us got together and worked out what we were going to do. And then popped on set. It was very fast. It was very fast, but it was very fun, and so in and out.
And a great showcase for you for your singing. And also, so I want to ask, also, you really are a jack of all trades, and it's impressive, your resume. So you also write musicals too, as well as perform in them. And so are you a classically trained musician?
Yes.
What did you learn? What's your instrument?
So I play string, bass, and violin. I played that in since 6th grade. Those were my orchestra was a thing I thought I was going to go into.
Holy shit! You play violin? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Not necessarily good at it anymore, but I could do a little something. But bass was when I started. Like I was doing jazz band and all that stuff like that, and so that's where I thought I was going to go. But singing has always been there, and so. And being in Phoenix Boys Choir, I mentioned that earlier. My parents put me in there when I was around 8 or 9. And so you get introduced to, different clefs, notes and keys and, singing with other people and, and you get to sing with adults and travel and things like that. So every week I was getting, I guess twice a week, I was getting poured into when it came to learning the craft and being in orchestra and being in choir and, doing it choir in high school and orchestra in high school really helped. And then I started exploring it in college as well because of musical theater and those things.
Incredible ability. I am only able to play by ear myself, so I can play things back when they're played to me, but I've had the hardest time with reading because math is not my strong suit. So I'm always in awe of musicians who can read and write because it is like an alien language to me. I just could not grasp it. So you currently are working on some things, right? That I'm sure you're obviously working on things, but what are the projects that you have done that you are like maybe the most proud of or the most excited about as far as your own writing goes for musical purposes?
Oh, okay. Awesome question. Thank you for venturing into that, I'd say. So I have a new musical. It's called Puppet Chew Story. It's about a dog and a chew toy. They go to Hollywood to be famous. It's sounds very cute and stuff like that, but it's kind of Book of Mormon-esque. There's a lot of adult situations, a lot of sex, a lot of cursing, things I like to write about. And so
that's good stuff. Who doesn't?
Yeah. So I'm working with some people actually from Book of Mormon, the music director, doing orchestrations. And I have a very dear friend of mine who I've been doing music with for over a decade. His name's Robin Schaefer. He's in Germany. And so during the pandemic, while we were all sequestered in our homes, me and him we got together every day through Zoom and just wrote this awesome show it's funny, it's irreverent, the music's awesome. And we really think that it has a shot to get to the B-Way. That's where we're trying to go. And so we've done a nice little first read of it, public stage reading of it. And now we're moving to a concert series and then a regional one and then, the big stage. So that, and then I also write for television. And so working on this really huge African Game of Thrones project that we're
Game of Thrones. So it's basically, if I understand it, it's a similar stories type, but it's set in Africa or?
So it's set in ancient Africa. I can't really say too much about it right now, but it's set in ancient Nigeria. But it just has the same style and tone as Game of Thrones. And it's 3 stories that kind of come together as one based on an inciting incident, like in Game of Thrones, was the death of the king. And so they have a similar incident that happens, but it's very fantastical. It's very, it's real. It also gives, it kind of fills in this gap about the history of Africa and how, it's kind of seen as it doesn't exist. And it's some myth that there was a history beyond Egypt and other places. So trying to fill that in. So it's really awesome.
Does that qualify as, okay, I might screw this up, I might muck this up. Afrofuturism. I know it's not technically futurism because it's in the past, but like I guess it's, since it's sort of not science fiction, but like
I call it Afro-retroism.
Okay, Afro-retroism. Okay,
that's a word that I've coined that I've been using for it, because it's basically, with Afrofuturism, it's seeing, you know, Black people really thriving with in technology, art, music, without, you know, the white savior to come in there and do stuff. So we're doing the same thing for the past, just showing that Black people were thriving in technology, music, art, without outside influences. So that's what we're trying to do.
It's, you know, I mean, hey, if Afrofuturist can be a word, then yours can be too, because that, I mean, that actually helps, because I'm trying to think of the right word, and there you go. You wrote it so well, being the writer that you are. But I mean, it's interesting stuff for me. I'm learning a lot about that lately from interviewing artists in magic. You know, and sort of the idea of that you have to sort of create a new mythology for people who are actual people because of the way things have been hijacked for so long in the narrative. And it's almost like, does that sometimes, though, I mean, is it daunting because sometimes you feel maybe that you have a duty to do so, or is that something that you just really want to do? Because I could understand it being a tricky line to walk.
Well, with me, I guess you can say it's on both levels. Since I was a kid, I've always just thought of like what I would do story time. So I like to tell stories. So when I was a kid, I had all these toys that my parents would give me. And so what I would do is wake up in the morning, and then they were in these like big blue baskets, and I would just dump them all on the floor, and they would form this thing. And I was like, and that's where I'm playing today. And this would be the castle, but it's just how the things arranged. And it was like super cool to me. And so that's how my mind works. And so I always wanted to see myself in these cool areas. This is before I really had a concept of what race was and why I'm watching all these shows and not seeing really anybody who looks like me, and there's no real representation in there. And so then it wasn't until I saw The Matrix, when I saw Lawrence Fishburne, and then I was like, there is a Black dude in here who's, you know, really pivotal in making this story go, and, you know, and is a part of this world. And so that's when my mind started going, okay, I want to start creating things that have, you know, Black people and BIPOC minorities in it, you know, that show that, you know, we can think like this too. We want magical powers, and I want to have a sword, and I want to go on a crazy magical quest, and I just still haven't seen that, you know, in the same way like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or Game of Thrones is. And so I was like, I want to do that.
It's true. I mean, you know, I think probably like one of the coolest ones I saw was, but this is just anime, but Afro Samurai was awesome. I loved that one. But it is a rare occurrence to see a superhero-esque or you know, great mythological character sort of to the test. But maybe with Black Panther, the tides changed with that big time. I mean, I think that, the movie companies realized, oh yeah, an entire audience of people might be interested in seeing themselves reflected.
Exactly.
Shocking. Exactly. But you know, it's just really cool. But now I'm going to preface this now. I don't want to be too controversial, but I found this article, and I'm pretty sure that it's you. In 2019, you were in a show called Ragtime. Okay, so now if this is something that you don't want to talk about, or if this is something that is too touchy, we can cut it. Yeah. But I read the article, and I wanted to get your word on this. So you are in this article about a apparently racism shuttered the Serembe Playhouse. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, Serembe.
Serembe. Okay, so and then they use your photograph, and then there's not really anything like as far as quotes from you, and I wanted to know, you know, did they let you know about that? Because it's sort of kind of shocking that they would just use you. They say that they used expletives, which I will not use here in that production, that were not necessary. And then they just say it featured Marcus Terell Smith as Coalhouse Walker Jr., but then nothing from you as far as quotes go. So I was wondering if you could give me your story on that and what happened, because it seems pretty shocking.
Well, during that time, so that company used a lot of local actors that had been working with them for years, and a lot of they had an apprentice program where people would be there for years. I myself only came in there for about a month and a half, 2 months, because they fly in equity actors to come do the lead stuff, and so I did that. So the issues that were happening in this with that company had been going on for a while, and so I kind of came in at the back end of that, and so I was like, oh, I didn't realize a lot of these things were happening. When it came to rehearsals, there was one or two scenes that got more rehearsed than others, which was kind of meaning one of the scenes that contained, the N-word, you have to say that really then the N-word said once in the show, but we ran that scene like 10 times in a row, and I was kind of like,
wow,
weird. Didn't know, but but they had a lot of the actors of color who were involved, and again, I'm solidarity with everybody who was involved in that, and I empathize and everything. I didn't personally experience all the stuff that they had gone through over the years with the director, who hey, he's doing his thing, I guess you could say. But there had been a lot of underlying, I would say, anger towards how this director, treated his staff, the people that he would hire and bring in to do different projects. It just BIPOC people didn't have a voice in that company, and so that's how the cookie crumbled. Everything,
well, yeah, no, I mean,
doors.
I don't, I shouldn't judge from, just knee-jerk reactions, but looking at a picture of this guy, I did think, what a douche. But, that's just me.
Yep.
He definitely, it just heavy vibrations of douchedom just sort of come out. But I would never, tell tales out of school like that. But in any case, so I'm relieved to find out that you weren't personally given to that, but that it seems like that was what was going on, and it seems like like it shocks me that you'd think, well, I guess not you would think, but you would think hypothetically that like in the arts, which is supposed to be a group of people who are open-minded, that creativity is supposed to be the thing that glues everyone together, that would be the least likely place. But as it turns out, there's no least likely, I guess. It's
exactly. Well, musical theater itself is kind of seen as the people who are behind the curtain. There's been a lot of talks, especially during the past 18 months, I would say, about representation on stage, but also behind the scenes, like the producers and the costume designers and anybody who's involved in the creative. There's not really, I think maybe it's less than 2% or something are people of color who are making the decisions and doing these things. And and it seems like when it comes to shows that are specifically about race, basically now it's like everybody's championing those and being like, okay, we have to see this story about discrimination and generational trauma and things like that, and that seems to be the thing that's being championed now. Sorry, I kind of tangent but as a way to compensate for the lack of representation behind the scenes, and saying, but we're doing these big shows that are like really Black, but again, who's directing these shows? Who's putting the money up for these shows? Who's, so that's kind of that's where I see things are going right now, which I'm hoping that are going to change. With Serenbe Playhouse, that was the same thing, is that there wasn't anybody of color who was making decisions or really listening to the actors, or when you have a cast of minorities, it would be great to see somebody who's who can speak from experience, who's on our side, who knows what we need. And without that, lines can get blurred, people can be like, I never knew that. I never saw what's happening. Why? Because you didn't ask, or you didn't have somebody who could give you a different perspective. So
exactly.
rambled.
I mean, no, that's not rambling. This kind of conversation I find to be enlightening, because and I understand that people are nervous to talk about it because it is such a volatile conversation. But it's true. What you're saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
I like look at, say, lately there's a show. I don't know if you know comedian Miss Pat, but she just finished a show on BET, and she is the first head female Black comedian, like just the name.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, since there was a show in the 90s. I think the last time that it happened, it was, it kills me to forget the name, but there was only in the past like 25 years a female lead singular like Black woman who is the head of a comedy show, of a sitcom. And
they had Wanda at Large. I don't know if that's who.
I think that, Wanda at Large, but then
in the 90s.
That might have been the one I was thinking, but I don't think it was. I might have to cut this out and do my research and come back at it, because I want to say Jackie. No, she was a really funny comedian too, but not Wanda Sykes. I know Wanda Sykes very well. She's hilarious. But but I digest. It's helpful because she actually was a drug dealer. She served time in jail, and she got her life together and became a really popular stand-up comedian, and wrote a book called Rabbit, and it's fucking fantastic. If you haven't read it,
I definitely must look at that.
She's hysterical. But in any case, it's the realism of the show is because she's in there in the writer's room making these decisions. And so, yeah, you're right. You could take an entire group of like Black actors and throw them on the screen. But if you have a white writer's room, things are going to get sort of lost in the mix.
Mm-hmm. And there's been situations where it's kind of like, I've done readings of shows in the past, where people who, they write what they think sounds funny, or it sounds, hard hitting. And then as the actor, I say, you should probably think about this, like how somebody actually in the situation would react. It's just like, well, somebody of color who's in the situation would react if this was said to them, or they would do this, or that doesn't sound believable because that's not the background we have, And so, yeah, just to your point, not having anybody there can really, make a story seem inauthentic, I would say, especially Black actors being written for by white people who don't know. So.
Now, since you are a Black actor and a Black writer, I'm curious, could you maybe think of an example of something where somebody, and you don't have to name names, but maybe somebody thought they were saying something edgy or something that was insightful, and you had to be like, and it was sort of like, I would love maybe if you've seen an example of that, something, because you have a writerly mind and you act, so it seems like you'd be the best resource to ask that question too.
Trying to think. I think when I was so maybe it's more of a director's thing, I would say.
But you direct as well, so.
Yeah, so I was in a kind of a, what was it called? Not a variety show, but a showcase, kind of a showcase of musical theater stuff. So it was my first like little performance in New York. And so I went in there, and there's this song called She Likes Basketball or something. And you can see where it's going already. And so the director was, not a person of color. And so I went in there and, and I thought, okay, this is going to be a great experience. Of course, I think it was me and one other person were the only people of color in there. And I thought I was going to get a cool song to sing, like something heartfelt and And he's like, nope, basketball. And I was like, okay, all right. Well, is it just because I'm very tall? So I'm tall, you're 6'5".
Yeah, what's the shorty?
Yeah. And so he gave me this song, and I was like, okay, how do I make it not into a stereotype? That tall Black guy singing about basketball. All right. So then I tried to make a character choice, and I was like, okay, so this guy's going to be a super nerd, and he has a lisp, and he's not really that good at basketball, and And so we have two shows. First show, I'm doing my character and stuff like that, and everybody's loving it. And then he comes back and chews me out. And he's just like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be great and da 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 da. Meaning like, I know how to dribble. I'm supposed to be like this. It was kind of his idea of what a tall Black person should be doing if they're holding a basketball, singing musical theater. And so I was kind of like, and it was just that box that BIPOC people everywhere get put in based on societal norms, I guess. And so I was put in this box. And so my gears started turning. I said, you know what? I'm not gonna, when I write musical theater and write things like that, if I do musical theater, it's never gonna be about anything super stereotypical. Plays, it's fine. I do write a lot of my shows, a lot of film stuff I write has to deal with those issues, race, discrimination, generational trauma, all those things. But when it comes to musical theater, I always wanted it to just be fun and be a story that, everybody can relate to and go and laugh and spectacle and that type of stuff. And so I think that's where that click started to bring that to a different place. But yeah,
No. Again, please do not apologize for the discourse. It's interesting to me, and that director sucked out loud because you took something that was, frankly, there wasn't much there to begin with, and you gave it something that a good actor would do, giving it a spin, and he chewed you out because you were not like.
I wasn't the basketball player that he believed everybody should be. There was no freedom to explore anything outside of my skin color and my height.
Right. You are to look the part, and that is it. And that is it. And do not answer any questions that might confuse the audience.
Exactly. And everybody else there they had all these cool songs, and they got to dress up and do these Shakespearean type things. And I was just like, I want to do that. Why am I not allowed to do that?
You're like, I can't even have a lisp.
Exactly. It was a nice little lisp. It was funny.
Lisps happen in every race.
Exactly.
I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure it's true. Yeah. I just don't have the actual physical evidence, but I would be willing to bet, well, as much money as I have right now, which is very little, but I would still do it because it's just something that happens. You hear that kind of stuff all the time. As a Jewish person, I'll tell you this much, I'm just so used to when you said the basketball thing, I was like, that is the equivalent of somebody coming up to me as a Jewish person saying, you're going to be in this musical number called Show Me the Money. And I would just be like, yeah, all right, great.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Shooting laser beams from outer space. It's what I'm doing. Perfect. Actually, after this,
that's innovative and hard hitting what they gave you just now. Something out of the box so I get it.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. But so, all right. And then we have Diatribe, but I've loved all of it. So, but to bring it back, with your writing, tell me what, obviously you're doing so much, but is there, I know you self-published a book, but is there any sort of project that's on the burner that you're working on that you can talk about? What else are we going to see in regards to your writing? And will you make a foray into horror just because, oh my God, you're good at it?
Thank you so much. I just enjoy exploring everything, expanding my abilities to be able to write in different genres. I love just being able to just throw myself into something and see what comes out of it. At the moment, I'm trying to look at my little board. So a lot of it is, I guess the musical, this little animation thing. So I have this board of stuff that I have up there. So
yeah, all the NDAs.
Yeah, so as a lot of it is a lot of it's waiting. So I do have this novels, this series. It's called Cry the Fables. That was I self-published it, sort of, just to see what it would look like when I published it, just to see. I wanted to hold it in my hand, and so I used one of these sites and did it.
You sort of published it? How do you mean sort of?
So there's this thing called Create Space, and so what you can do is you write your book, put it together, and then you then you can print it. And so when I printed it, I was like, I just wanted to hold it to say that I accomplished this thing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It has an ISBN number, right?
Yeah, so you need all that stuff, and
that's published. I mean, so that's not sort of published. That's like published. I mean,
yeah,
that's because I had to do that. I did that for the project in when I got my graduates, and that's not cheap. It's not cheap.
It was a lot of time and energy put into that. That was years of writing just to write those 2 books, and there's 3 more that are coming. But so right now I'm working with CAA, where they're developing it and things like that, and we're taking it apart, and hopefully we're going to be shipping it on over to be published next year. So it's about this children's book author with this world in his head where his fairy tales live. And here's the horror part. So some evil force comes in and starts killing all his fables. And so he has to go in there and try to stop them. So that's the big gist of it. But yeah, that's going to be coming out soon.
So the official self-published one is not available to snatch because I'm kind of going to have to hunt it down if I can find it.
I can probably give you a little, I can probably say, because it's changed a little bit since what's out there, because that thing has been up there for years. I kind of was like, it's there. I'm not going to do any marketing for it. We'll just see. But yeah, I'll slip you a little something, and you can take a look at it and see what you think. I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Oh my God. Happiness overload. I'm just that's thank you. I will consume it with like just a fervor. Like, see, I seriously I have not been as excited about a new voice in writing as I have about yours. I mean,
I can't even.
Well, yeah, that's true. You know those moments where you read something and you're just like, it's great writing when you're like, this is as good as a like television show that is like that I can't stop watching. You get that same feeling where you're like, okay, I'm gonna not leave until this is done. And so that's what I got. And it's been a while. It's been a hot minute, especially with COVID and the whole like iPhone fucking up reading for everybody, myself included. I was an Audible person, and then it kick-started my old love for reading. So I really can't stress to everybody how good it is, and how I hope that Wizards puts you to good use, and I hope that there's so much more coming from you as a writer, because
thank you.
Just exciting stuff.
Thanks. Wow, sir. You're giving me all of the warm and fuzzies with the horror talk we're talking about that.
Well,
I'm just thankful and appreciative that you enjoyed it so much.
It's great. I mean, like, and when you think about it, it's like, Blade is due for some sort of like revamp. I mean, like, throw your hat in the ring. At least now you got that magic story. You can be like, here's what I can do. Because hello.
I would. That's the dream. So I'm trying to put my name in as many hats as possible to get more stuff out there. And this magic has given me a great start. I was very excited when they asked me to write a second story. I was like, yeah. So I'm hoping a third one will come along. I think in January they might present me with something, but it's fingers crossed.
I will most definitely voice it. I mean, like, I've been yakking about it. I tweeted about this, and like, I don't tweet often because I'm just not very good at it. I'm a
same.
Terrible at it. I mean, I can't help it. I'm 40. I just came from a time where I'm still sort of like, look, you guys, modems were a thing when I was in college. I can't keep up. Yeah, it was just not. It's just sort of hard, and like TikTok, no.
Right.
I can't. I'm way too old and not famous enough to matter, and I'm okay with that. But I digress again.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I'm not bringing up, or anything else that you would like to discuss or talk about that is on your schedule as far as upcoming stuff?
Well, right now it's just books, TV shows, and all of that for the arts. So it's just
that's it.
There's other things I do outside of writing. I'm try to somehow, some way things are gonna get made in this world, I say. So I do stuff like a lot on the tech side as well.
What?
I know.
I mean, what are you like? Are you bad at anything? I mean,
it's just, I always had, it's funny, when I was a kid, I was always involved in a lot because I'm bad when it comes to silences. You can use it as a metaphor for life. So if anything's quiet, I have to find something to do. So like in the interim, when I'm waiting for, to get an email back on an audition, or if I'm waiting to, for somebody to say, hey, I have notes for you, I put myself in some other realm and say, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What other part of my life am I feel like it needs to be, enriched, or some hole that needs to be filled, or there's some sort of gap of time that I need to just, put things, trying to think of how to say it. I just like to do so much. And just because when I don't have anything to do, I feel very useless.
I understand completely.
So,
I come from a Jewish and Italian family, and for me, silence means somebody is incredibly angry, and so I don't like it either.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a great way of thinking about it. Somebody's mad, so let me distract them with this and that. So I do like apps and things like that. So
wow,
an app called Glance Out, if you want to take a look at it, you can do that. So it
what
really has nothing to do with writing.
But what is that? What is that? What does it do? What's that app do? What's the story?
Basically, it's so funny that we're talking about this now. I did not expect it to come up, because I'm looking at your background. I'm like, and now we're talking about Glance. So
well, yeah, no, I was not gonna. I love this, the kamikaze my subjects, where I'm like, I'm gonna actually ask you about your life.
Thank you. And I was like, okay, we are going to go there. So basically it's it's a social dating app is what I call it. So basically what it allows you to do is to see somebody within 50 feet of you that you think super attractive, but you might be too shy to walk up to him or her. Then you can send a ping to their phone. If they have the app, they ping you back, you chat for 5 minutes, and then the chat disappears, and then you meet in person. So it basically eliminates kind of fear of rejection, so you don't miss these opportunities.
So like is it mainly, or does it work, say, like for people who are out and about? That's the sort of angle. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually.
So you have to see them in order to be able to use it. You have to see the person. So it's not this I'm swiping through things. It only works if I see you, you'll pop up on my screen. If
you mean see, like actually as in you
in life. Like you're at a gym or a coffee shop or something, you see somebody and says, I would love to go talk to them, but I'm too shy. Then you can ping them. If they ping you back, then you go, oh, we see each other. Let's do something. And there's no profiles on it. There's no endless texting, and there's no catfishing.
So. I was gonna say, like, catfishing is a serious thing.
It's a serious thing.
People will go to the most bizarre and tragic, like just levels of deception. Where I'm like, I pause and I'm like, what was your end game? You're not even them. Like, this person is clearly not you, and they never were you, and I just drove 30 minutes.
Yes, it's a bit of delusion, and I just go, I'm tired of it. So
I wonder, I can't do that kind of lying, because I don't know, I don't see a point, but
there's no point. Just be real, authentic, and that's what I created a thing for. I was just like, okay, I'm too shy. I'm a very shy person usually when it comes to being in public or approaching people. So I was like, let me just try this thing. Also, it was during the pandemic, so everybody was staying away from each other, so it was like, let's try to do something during this silent time is what I called it. So so yeah, that's there. Glance.
Well, that's cool, because it makes sense, because people are going to be drawn to something like Glance, because we are really in a massive amount of people withdrawal right now.
Yeah, so hoping that people will use it, at the same time focusing mostly on writing and making things happen that way. But if some sort of freedom can be found, in one of the projects I'm doing, I would be very excited about that. And you are definitely helping with that, with this interview and just taking the time, sir.
I really do think that you will be finding some freedom along the way. You can't be as good at everything that you are good at and just sort of be shackled. Like, I see you as being very free. You're fucking talented. So good for you.
My heart. Thank you, sir. High fives.
Digital high five. Well, other than that, that's all I have for you. I hope I didn't make you too deeply uncomfortable with the fanboying out, but like I said, I can't.
No. This is wonderful. This is a huge boost to my ego, I would say.
Well,
like nobody's gonna read this. But then, hey, you come along and do it and just make things right.
People have read this. I mean, and I'm not the only one talking about it. Like, I'm not the only one. Like, there's like, and I know a couple of the big hitters, the big heavy hitters of the FTG community. And they also, I wrote them and I was like, have you read this? And they're like, it's really cool. And I'm like, yes. So
that's great.
This is the word on the street that, like, I'm not just some, some soul cheerleader. It's really, the general reaction to it has been incredibly positive, and it's given me new faith in the magic story that they have corrected any of the errors that they may have made in the past few years.
Got it. Well, I'm happy to be on this journey. And so you saw it going downhill before or something?
Yes. Well, the thing is that, I mean, and I don't think I'm really, and again, I'm not calling out the author of this, because I I understand that there are multiple factions of work and there were mistakes that were made that Wizards has since, said we made these mistakes. But it was the release of the War of the Spark novel that was just, it was difficult to take such a giant amount of story and put it into novels, let alone then sort of retcon characters who were like, basically who were believed to be gay and then were suddenly not, and not just straight, but like they were like, no, we're decidedly straight. It was a slap in the face. And so that happened. And then right after that, so there was a poorly received couple of books that were supposed to be part of the big culmination for War of the Spark. And then immediately after that, for the Theros set, that the Theros Beyond Death set, they had this incredible storyline that was happening where a character was coming back from the underworld and it was going to be this big resurgence and we were all excited. And then there was nothing. Nothing. Not even one like iota of a story. Wow. And so that made everybody sort of think that, okay, crap, maybe the magic stories are a thing of the past, because they've stopped making books for the financial reasons. And it seemed like this was what was happening, and everybody was sort of like, well, shit, I mean, I guess there's no more magic story because there's nowhere to like they just aren't showing interest to it. But then slowly but surely things started happening, and then by the time Innistrad came out, it was like, I think we can be, we can breathe easier. And then I read yours and I was just like, all right, it's back. Like, and it's a great time too, because eventually the Netflix series is going to come out. They have an incredible comic book series that's also running alongside the story. So they're knocking it out of the park, and it's great to see Wizards really giving the fans what they asked for and really treating us with the respect that we wanted. And it's wonderful that they are bringing in talent like you.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. I did not know all of this and loving it. I'm going to do some more research on it as well. To again, I'm very new to magic in the world of it, so I'm going to definitely do more research myself on it and see where the missteps happen, I guess you could say, and hopefully throw my hat in the ring for that.
It's very much it's easy to sort of look at it. You'll be able to find it. It's not difficult, but I mean, yeah, it's, if you may be new to the story, but like I said, knocked it out of the park. I mean, and really given such an incredible chance to take two significant characters that people love and people identify with, and to bring them in, and then also like just bringing this. I mean, it's tough to bring a vampire that has never, like a vampire family that has never been mentioned before really at any sort of like length that is notable, to bring that in and make them a viable threat that is in line with the already established families is just great. It's fantastic. I mean, it's a tough egg to sell any way you put it. But she came in and she's just like she's a bitch goddess. Like, just, what can I say?
I love her, man. Just, even though she's ruthless and just she cares about herself, but it's just, I enjoyed so much writing her and just making her, powerful and sexy but ruthless. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what we all kind of want to be a little bit? I mean, like in our
Mhm.
private most thoughts, like if we're in the shower and we're interviewing ourselves, which I've done before, by the way. What I mean, you get to sort of tap into that like dark side of your psyche when you write for that kind of character. You're like, I'm going to put on the page the most like base, evil, selfish version of me that I can think of.
Yeah.
And also look hot doing it.
Hey.
What's the problem?
And what was cool also was that when I read the story back after it was published and everything, they added new pictures to it that I didn't, because they give you a couple cards to be like, okay, model it after this. But then they added some new artwork in there, and I was like, what? This is crazy. So I'm very excited just of what how the art enhanced it, how people are receiving the story, and we'll see what happens next.
Oh, like we will see. I will see so hard. But thank you so much again. It's been great, and
thank you.
Wonderful to have you on board with that stuff. It's just thumbs up.
Thanks so much, man. You are wondrous, and I appreciate just all of your encouragement and your fandom, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah, it's fanning. I am fanning those flames. There's like I'm going to burn down the joint. Like I'm a fan. Nope, no shame.
Hey, I'll take it. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later.
What a great interview. Thank you again to Marcus, and my apologies for making you all suffer through that awful script. But I think I salvaged it from total disaster, and if you think so too, please like and subscribe. Then maybe I can host, and there'll be more shows with me in it, and I can help Rain Alpert in a bit. I'm fairly confident I have just proved to him that I am a great magic show host. Once again, I'm Chef Beefs, and may every Crimson Wave booster pack you crack have the best Phyrexians and Tamagotchis. Bye-bye!